I'm Algenon Cash, and this is Eat, Drink, Triad, your leading resource for everything happening with the local food and beverage community right here in the Triad of North Carolina. We do have Eat, Drink, Restaurant Week. It's coming up very, very soon, kicking off March 20th. I know so many of you probably remember the great work we did last year with Eat, Drink, Burger Week. We had to come back and do it again, except this time it's much bigger and a lot better because we got a lot more restaurants participating, and it's actually doubled the time. So instead of it just being 1 week, it's going to be 2 weeks. So you're going to have from March 20th all the way until April the 3rd to get out and try some really great locally owned restaurants. And Eat, Drink, Restaurant Week would not be possible without sponsors. And today we are going to hear from Jay Holden, who's the president of Performance Foodservice out of Johnson City. Performance Food Group started in 1987. Their roots go back all the way to 1885 when James Capers began peddling groceries for a wholesaler in Richmond, Virginia. Today, they have nearly 25,000 associates working in more than 100 locations nationwide to serve more than 200,000 customers nationally. Performance Food Group is one of the largest food distributors in the country with a focus on serving locally owned restaurants. We've got Jay Holden here joining us. Jay, how are you today, man?
Hey, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Well, first of all, just to kick into it, thank y'all for being a sponsor. You're our primary sponsor for Eat, Drink, Restaurant Week. Certainly would not be possible without y'all's investment and your commitment to locally owned restaurants. So I definitely want to start off by just showing my appreciation for that. But I guess to just sort of kick into it, you know, for my audience who might be listening, who may not be familiar with Performance Food Group, you heard me just give a quick synopsis of the history, but help everyone just understand how PFG started operating here in the Triad of North Carolina.
Hey, great. Yeah, great tee up there. Really, there's three different companies that operate in the Triad area for the food service side and under Performance Food Service. A lot of folks may have remembered them as ISH, which was called Institution Food House, that was acquired in 2012. And that's known now as PFG Hickory, or Performance Hickory. Supreme Foods, a leading Italian pizza distributor over in the Norfolk, Virginia area, delivers into Greensboro, Winston, High Point, the Triad, as Performance Tidewater. And then Johnson City was the Institutional Jobbers, or IJ, and all three companies have been in the Triad for a better part of probably 50 or 60 years under different names. So it's under the same umbrella, and we all have our specialties. And so you may actually have a restaurant out there that buys from both of us, or all three of us, depending on how we, the products that we have for that particular restaurant. So thanks for your comments also on making an investment or a commitment. We like to think of it as a commitment, because we're really trying to committed to independent restaurants, and that's really our focus for our company. And their success obviously creates our success, but our restaurant success comes first.
Yeah, I want to dive into a little bit of what you just shared, because it sounds like you have, and from our audience, they may be a little confused because you literally have three distinct companies all operating out of the same region. What does that mean for your customers in terms of service and availability of products and pricing and et cetera?
I think for our customers, it gives them a choice. Again, a lot of the salespeople that work for one of our three companies are calling on those restaurants that may be listening or out there, and they have a relationship with their salesperson. And during COVID, a lot of our competitors took their salespeople off the street, and we kept ours on the street, and we wanted to be right side by side in lockstep with our restaurant partners. And so again, depending on the product selection, we might have two or three of our Performance Food Service companies. We like to consider ourselves as Performance Food Service, period. And again, it's a pretty interesting opportunity for a restaurant. If they used to buy from IFH and IJ, now they can still buy from Performance and get it on two different trucks. So it's all about the customer for us, and we can give everybody a choice, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
Jay, this morning I was on the phone with an operator. We were actually getting them signed up for Restaurant Week. I don't mind saying Chef Trey Prescott over at the Prescott in Kernersville just signed up for Restaurant Week today. So you'll see more of him during Restaurant Week. But Jay, I was on the phone with Chef and I asked him what he was doing, and he said he was out buying groceries. He said he was running out to the store to go buy some groceries. And I find that a lot of times that our locally owned restaurants are sometimes intimidated by the larger food distributors. So they believe they should run out to Sam's and Costco and the local grocery store to buy their food. What would you say to that local operator that sometimes just gets intimidated by a company the size of PFG?
Well, we're just a regular group of folks, just like the restaurant industry is. And what I tell you is that we're just as local as anybody else. Matter of fact, our trucks are in Greensboro today, Winston and High Point, and when they finish unloading at restaurants, they're bringing products back from North Carolina. We're at TW Garner picking up Texas Pete hot sauce. We're at Redwood Mills picking up flour. All these, we're in Boone, North Carolina picking up cabbage. Where all those things we're bringing back. And I guess the main reason that we like what we do is we want the restaurant owner to be in their restaurant. We want them focused on their business. And when they're away from their business, they're just away from their business. And so again, they have a lot of choices where they can purchase their food from. But our goal is to help our folks be successful. And by doing that, we send our salespeople in to help partner with them, both on menu design, menu selection, sampling product, and that kind of thing.
I really like the way you frame that, because you said you want restaurant operators to be in their business and actually running their business. Many of my audience know that I've been in restaurant operations. I'm a partner in several restaurants. And so I know just how difficult it can be to run a restaurant. And there are so many things that you've got to do day to day. You've got to watch the cash, you're tracking inventory, you're making runs to the bank. You're dealing with staff. You're dealing with so many things. And I've often been the one that says, I don't have time to run out to Sam's or Costco and spend the half day so that I can go pick up food. I'd much rather do that with a group like PFG. And so that is my message to my audience. Sometimes you really got to look at efficiency. And sometimes it's a lot more effective just to be able to place that order through a group like PFG, let it come in on the truck. Jay, you started alluding to it a little bit in the tail end of your comments just a moment ago. PFG isn't just about food, though, right? I can pick up everything from PFG, my disposables. I can get help with inside the restaurant coming up with new items. Talk about just the universe of how PFG can help a restaurant operator.
Well, we have, as you alluded to, we do have the paper disposables. We have a full line of warewashing for your dishwashing needs. We also have small wares. We have large equipment. We're completing a project locally here, pretty big scale, where we were able to give them everything from the knife and fork on the table to the refrigeration, the hood. There's really nothing we can't bring to the party. Second largest food distributor in the country. And our scale is really what helps us. You mentioned earlier about people maybe being afraid of the big food distributor, but that's really what works for people, is that scale as well. And you mentioned Sam's and Costco. Those are great people, great organizations, and again, everybody has a choice. So we leave it up to the restaurant owner. We're trying to keep our salespeople, and we call them area managers. We try to keep them in those restaurants, again, to bring the latest and greatest to them as quickly as we can get it, and again, find ways to find solutions to restaurant issues.
Yeah, and so I want my audience to take note of that. If you're one of those new operators who I hear from all the time, and you always call me and you got a lot of questions about how do you get started and how do you navigate, or if you happen to be one of those new food truck operators too, because that's an area where I see just great growth and explosion. Just so many of these operators that are out starting their own food truck, their own food enterprises. And Performance Food Group wants to work with you too. You're not too small to be working with a food distributor like Performance. And if you're just getting started, now is the time that you want to call them, because you're coming up with the menu, you're starting to build your recipes, you're figuring out what your ingredients are. And that's that point where their local consultant, their local area manager wants to be able to work with you hand in hand in order to be able to get you across the finish line in terms of getting your restaurant open. Jay, with so many food distributors that are competing in the world, and I'm sure a restaurant owner that might be listening to this message says, man, I get called on from everybody. What would you say is the unique selling proposition of PFG? I mean, what is that one thing that makes you all so different compared to everyone else?
Also, we're in the performance food service segment of Performance Food Group. So Performance Food Group is made up of customized distribution, Vistar, which is a vending company. We have some office coffee companies in there as well. But the Performance Food Service side is really, it's all about the relationship. It's about the relationship really between our salesperson and the restaurant, and really the relationship to being successful. Our number one focus is on the independent restaurant operator. Now, we do sell regional chains and national chains like that, but our main focus in our company in Performance Food Service is the independent operator, and that's why we keep our folks out in the trade, in the restaurants every week. So you'd see your area manager every week, sometimes twice a week, depending on what your needs were at that particular time. But it's like having a consultant really at no cost to you, calling on your restaurant every week.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting with two of your staff members last week at one of the restaurants I'm involved in, and I will tell my audience, and just being very honest and truthful, we sat there for about an hour and a half, and the one thing that I really appreciated was the number of ideas that Aaron and Brad had for us. Every time they would ask about the business, they also had different ideas that they could provide. And what I like to always share with restaurant operators is that when you're working with these consultants and these area managers, they are in the market. They're out meeting and talking to so many different restaurant owners. They're watching national trends. They understand what's going on, and they can bring that knowledge and that intelligence and that resource to bear inside of your restaurant. And that can also be very critical, just being in the know about what's happening around the world. Right now, Jay, we know that the entire industry, not just here in the Triad of North Carolina, is facing challenges, but really the entire industry across the country. We're seeing different types of supply chain disruptions. Certainly, that is leading to an increase in cost of food. We're also seeing a lot of labor shortages, which is also causing severe disruption inside the restaurant industry. What are you seeing? What are some of the challenges that you're hearing specifically from your customers? And what's some advice that you might have for an owner that may be listening today?
Yeah, I think it's a widespread issue in our industry today, and right now I think partnering with our area manager to help navigate some of those with substitutions. With some people now have switched from, say, instead of maybe making their own salads, they'll buy a pre-cut instead of the pre-cut vegetables. We even have pre-sliced tomatoes. They're cut right here in North Carolina, and then we bring them into our building and we ship them out the next day. So that's really what our company is designed to do, to get people over any obstacle that's in their way, whether it be supply chain issues, labor issues. We're not a staffing agency, but we try to work for alternatives. When hamburger prices go up, we try to suggest other things on the menu to maybe move the accent away from that. When lettuce prices go up, as they do twice a year, we try to have people maybe not focus on salads as much as they had been in the past. Again, just another set of eyes and ears assisting our restaurant partners.
Well, Jay, I appreciate you coming on today and just sort of giving my audience a little bit of a tutorial on Performance Food Group, and specifically Performance Food Service, Johnson City. As I mentioned at the outset of our conversation, Eat, Drink, Restaurant Week kicks off March 20th. That goes through April the 3rd. In addition to having about 36 restaurants participating, we're going to have some special events happening over that 2-week period. We're going to be doing a film screening. We're also doing a reception for all our local chefs in the region in partnership with Performance Food Group. So we're excited about that. But again, Eat, Drink, Restaurant Week would not be possible without Performance Food Service out of Johnson City. And we're so thankful for their investment and their commitment. And we're thankful to have Jay Holden, the president of Performance Foodservice Johnson City here with us. Jay, we're getting ready to wrap up. I'm running out of time. For my audience or that restaurant owner that may have heard this message, who can they contact locally? Who should they be looking for locally to come inside their restaurant and work with them?
Well, again, they may know somebody that's an area manager. We're Performance. I'm out of Johnson City, but we also have our sister companies in Hickory and in Tidewater, and depending on where you are, if you go to our website, pfgc.com, you can click on any of those three locations. And again, I would suggest them interviewing their salesperson just like they would somebody that comes to work for them, because in fact we do work for our customers. So I would certainly go down that route. And if you look on the side of our trucks, it doesn't say Hickory, it doesn't say Tidewater, it doesn't say Johnson City. It just says Performance Foodservice. Have a taste. And that's the business we're in, and we're proud to support both the Eat, Drink, Triad's efforts as well as all independent restaurant owners.
Well, Jay, I appreciate that. And to my audience, you can certainly always reach out to me personally. I'd be happy to share a local contact for Performance Foodservice that can come out. If you're already in the restaurant business, I'm sure he would love to just come and look at what you're doing and maybe give you some thoughts and some ideas. Those ideas don't cost you anything, so you can take them or you can leave them. I mean, it's always helpful just to have another set of eyes. And if you're one of those people that are looking to start a restaurant or a bakery, cafe, food truck, you're looking to get into food service, I want you to give strong consideration to working with Performance Foodservice, and I can certainly get you the right person and the right contact for that. For my audience, I always appreciate you joining me. Make sure you stay tuned to WTOB every single day, because that's where I share our restaurant of the week, and that's where you can catch that. Also, every Sunday morning, Eat, Drink, Triad broadcast on WTOB. But if you happen to miss it there, you can always subscribe and download the podcast. That's available on Apple, Spotify, Pandora, wherever you like to get your favorite podcast. Eat, Drink, Triad is available there. And as always, until next time, y'all stay locked in.